Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to this podcast where we're finishing off finally the Crystal Shard.
Yeah, it only took us about a year to finish the Crystal
Snard. 6 months.
Yeah.
We said at the beginning, we're like, what do you think?
You're
Maybe
right.
once a week? And then I'm looking at our uploads and there's literally one every month.
Progress. Consistency. Consistency is key. So,
Which means we should be finished with this series in
that
about 15 years.
Sounds about right.
Half a year for one book, 30 books, 15 years. He'll probably write them faster than we can.
He has a new book coming out. I just stumbled upon that little tidbit this morning, by the way, because I was updating my Goodreads to say that I finished reading the book. You're right. It's only been 6 months, but it's felt like a year. So how about that?
Yeah, another
book
on my note.
Not because of the book. The book was lovely, but just the pacing.
Yeah. So
where do you want to start? Victory ?
No, that we were.
I'm teasing. So actually, the Rites of Victory, chapter 26, is where we start for this episode. There is a lot thrown at us. This is about maybe the last 80 pages or so, and I feel this book has been very dense throughout. Last 80 pages, I mean, the rest of the chapters don't even compare with the density of the information given to us here. But I'm very ready to talk about the ending and how everything went down. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah, very excited about that.
If you have stuck with us throughout the entirety of this book, thank you for sticking with us all the way to the end. If this is the first time you're watching, weird episode to choose, but hey, welcome.
Start at the end. There are some people that believe in reading the last page of a book before deciding to read the entire book as whether or not, and I feel like, welcome, you're starting at the end.
It's like one of those movies that sort of tells you the ending at the very beginning. It's like, in 48 hours, I will be dead. This is how it happened.
Jack Bauer.
Yeah.
Also, too, it's like, you order dessert before ordering dinner. You wanna get to the good stuff, and then you can see how you feel about the rest.
Well, if that's you, then you made a great choice because we're starting with the Rites of Victory. Now,
whose Rites of Victory?
Whose Rites of Victory, right? So Wolfgar is now in charge of the barbarians. He's the head honcho.
He has fully crushed Heefstag's skull, and now he's king. That's it. He's sitting. We just open up with him sitting on the throne in Mead Hall.
Everyone else is happy. Yay, we don't have to fight for Kessel. And Wolfgar's like, no.
Actually, you don't have to fight for Kessel, but we're still going to war. And there was a very awkward pause, in that moment. Just complete silence. A lot of thinking, chewing it over. But I do appreciate that. And what makes him a good ruler is that he gave, the people the choice to join the battle. So that is right off the bat what makes him stand out as a leader.
He did it by throwing Aegis Fang through the front door.
They were getting ready to have a party. They brought their kegs.
They brought their kegs, yeah.
And there's a little inside joke with the barbarians as to who can throw an axe, I think it is.
Well, that's
to notch a hole, and they're gonna pour their glasses. They're gonna.
So this actually, I remember it from way earlier when they did it with Heefstag. I didn't mention it because I didn't think it was really that important, but I guess it was.
I don't
it really
remember
was. Yeah. So Heefstag threw. We're gonna attack 10 towns, and then he threw an axe into a keg, and everyone was getting their drinks from the hole, and I was like, "Well, that's pretty cool."
That's kind of badass.
But then I didn't know that actually meant something. I don't remember that
at all. So I feel like I was gonna say this anyway once we got to the end about how this would be such a good book to reread And it would just have so many little tidbits that on the second read you'd be picking up on, and things would be clicking because the author does such a great job of, you get little pieces, not like a crumb trail, but almost.
Yeah.
Where when you go back and you have the whole picture, everything, you can actually see the clues that were left for the reader to pick up on, and whether or not you did pick up on.
I bet you after reading the prequel trilogy, reading this immediately after will be real nice.
I can't wait. I want to read a few more of the books to be able to make my mind up, so I can recommend a reading order.
Yeah.
Have my fully formed opinion there. But we're doing chronological publication order. Publication order. Yes. Okay, so rites of victory. So we've got Wulfgar getting the barbarians all of a sudden to do the little switcheroo because they were just fighting for Akar Kessel, the big bad guy. And Wulfgar comes in, kills Heefstag, claims the throne, now leads all the tribes of barbarians, and he's like, yeah, we're going to fight for the other guys. We're switching sides.
We're switching sides, and just to help you make your guy, no pressure or anything.
Yeah, no pressure.
But just letting you know that anyone who comes and fights with me can have a share of the dragon's treasure.
Yeah, just by the way, remember that dragon that I slayed? Yeah, its hoard of treasure is real. And so it's like a very slight bribe because he promises to share equally with anyone that joins the battle. So I think it even says at the end of the chapter, like, not one barbarian declined. Yeah, no barbarian stayed behind. So
he didn't even he made that offer and then he kicked the door open and just ran off, and everyone was like,
oh yeah, because he thought, so he was making this grand speech, tomorrow we ride, whatever, and somebody comes in, that Rev Jack guy comes in and he's like, well, actually, one of the 10 towns is burning, so you might want to speed this up. So Wulfgar has to be on the move. So instead of going the next day, getting his rest, it's the middle of the evening, and he's, he makes the offer and takes off. And then they go. That's it, which speaks to them. No rest, no planning, no nothing. They're just bulldozing right through.
Probably haven't had a few.
Might help. I don't know,
Yeah, with the nerves.
So that's where we left Wulfgar. And then we get to see a lot of Regis in these chapters. And for so much of the book, he was just not involved. He was so far in the background. He was left lounging by a lake for most of the story. And now he kind of gets to come in and show himself and his prowess as, what's the word I'm looking for? I was not manipulator, a convincer.
Cunning?
Yeah, without the help of the magical little pendant that he has. So we get to see Regis here. And do you want to go into that?
Yeah,
everything?
Yeah, well, Cassius suspects that Kessel is concerned about time.
Mm-hmm.
Because
night has just fallen.
Right. And so Crinchinaban draws strength from the sun.
And they could kind of see it power down. That's how Cassius was able to tell that Crinchinaban must get its strength from the sunlight, because as soon as the sun had set, something had powered down, or there weren't as many lights, or the reflections in the mirrors weren't there anymore.
Yeah, when your phone when your phone's on 15% and it gives you a little thing saying, beware, you have 15%
and it
left.
dims the
screen
light.
automatically, and all of a sudden your texts are no longer MMS. They're all just it's all working on fumes.
Yeah, so that's basically what happened with Crinchinaban.
And so they send into Chris Altirith is okay, go.
You negotiate.
Out the door.
Thank you.
And he's like, ugh.
Without really giving him an option to say no, because
he got voluntold.
Yeah, he got voluntold. So he just kind of gets thrown to Akar Kessel to negotiate terms with him. And Akar Kessel at this point is expecting an absolute surrender.
Yeah, unconditional surrender.
Unconditional surrender, thank you. So, yeah, how is Regis now going to talk his way out of an upset, kind of pissed off Akar Kessel now? Because what terms? You're supposed to be surrendering?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be begging for your lives? So, what terms are you requesting?
So, yeah, I mean, he's talking to Akar Kessel and he's sort of convincing him. He's like convincing him that somebody's trying to double cross him, the giants or the frost giants.
Orcs.
The
I
orcs.
think it starts with the orcs.
I kind of got confused as well, but that's
so because Akar Kessel has a little bit of every race under his control. And even amongst themselves, they have like the orcs with the goblins, the giants with the trolls. They each have their own animosities with each other, and now they're in one army under Akar Kessel. So Regis uses that like history of animosity between races. And I don't know if it was the orcs and the goblins. I believe it was the different tribes of orcs that were sent to burn down the village called Bremen, if I remember correctly. And so Regis just kind of like puts that little seed of doubt saying, well, actually, because those tribes of orcs didn't want to work together, one of them was convinced by Cassius, one of the members of the 10 towns, to open up a safe passage so that the people of Bryn Shander can escape at night. So Regis had like planted this seed that one of the orc tribes had been. When you betray? Not betray.
double cross.
Yes, to double cross Akar Kessel and work with the people of Bryn Shander.
And this is kind of also getting into the next chapter too, because I think the chapter 27 was like one of the shortest chapters ever. There was only like 2 or 3 pages. And it kind of bled into the next one.
I didn't notice the.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. Well, the way Regis actually managed to convince him is by pretending to be under the influence of Kryn Shinneban.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yes, my lord.
Zombie mode, just.
I was sent here to distract you, but darn, you have distracted me.
You are amazing. Oh my goodness, no one is better than Akar Kessel.
Yeah, well, it was
type
like
of a thing, you know.
Like Jafar's little thing
yes.
in Aladdin,
where
it's
just
like,
the eyes glaze over, and so for some reason, I think it was due to the pendant necklace, that enchanted pendant, or because he was a halfling. Now I don't think even Regis knew why Akar Kessel's spell did not work on him. All we know is that it didn't, and it allowed Regis to manipulate him now and come up with, this lie on the fly.
I might be wrong. I wrote down the shard is protecting Kessel from the pendant.
The shard is protecting Kessel from the pendant. Yes.
Yeah.
But Regis, you're talking about, okay, we're going to rewind back up a little bit. When Regis gets thrown out of Bryn Shander to speak to Kessel, he has the pendant.
Yeah.
I think you're confusing the characters. Regis has the pendant, and he was twisting it. He was like pretending like he was nervous, talking to Akar Kessel because, Akar Kessel's all powerful.
Oh,
so
and
Regis was
shifting, know why.
And the pendant was kind of swirling. And actually, in that moment, for a very short moment, Akar Kessel was falling under the spell of the pendant. So very quickly, this was all within like a few lines, as the pendant is influencing Akar Kessel and Regis is gaining control. Boom, Akar Kessel disappears into thin air with the little magic mirrors outside of Kryn Shinneban, and then the mirrors shift and reflect on Regis, and then Regis disappears into thin air, and when he comes to with like that split second, they're in Kryn Shinneban. So Kryn Shinneban was protecting Kessel by cutting the communication, by cutting the eye contact on Regis's
I
pendant.
see. So it wasn't
was right
it wasn't that it
before.
wasn't working on him. It was that
It was working on him.
Krinchenabon cut off, like hung up the phone, like
Yes, yes.
It was like, oh no, there's a wire
Because
in here.
Remember, there are those mirrors that have the reflections of Krinchenabon's power, and they use
So they're
those
not talking
mirrors.
directly. They're sort of talking.
Oh,
Right? Is that what's going on?
oh, that I didn't think. That's not how I had pictured it. I had pictured that the mirrors were there the day before. Remember, they had like sent this freaking laser beam.
Yeah, it was all
from
like mirrors.
Krinchenabon. The Krinchenabons got the power from the sun. It reflected to the mirror, and it shot one of the 10 towns and straight up into flames. So these mirrors, in my mind, had still been out. There were 2 of them, so they could reflect off of each other for like the angles. And Ekar Kessel, in my mind, was outside of Krinchenabon, but because they were standing between these 2 mirrors, their reflections were in the mirrors. Not entirely, because the mirrors were described as like reflecting Krinchenabon, and then when they reflect and show Ekar Kessel between them, then like the power pulls him into Krinchenabon, and then the orcs holding the mirrors like reflect it, and what's his face? Regis is reflected within the mirrors, and then he's pulled into Krinchenabon. That
That's
was
a
my
lot.
understanding. Oh gosh. It was a very quick explanation, but that was the image
Well,
that I had in my mind.
what I pictured was more like
so now
like
I'm
one of those,
questioning things.
like the fun houses that you have, right? Where you walk
Yes.
in and there's a whole bunch of mirrors, and then you walk up to one, and then
But
you
imagine that they can move. Like
Yeah.
someone is behind them and they can move them. So it's
Yeah.
like they're like funhouse mirrors, but you can direct what it's reflecting.
But it's reflecting, yeah.
So that way you could burn down this town, send a laser beam that way because of the angles of Krinchenabon here or there, you know.
Yeah.
I'll find that part later, and I'm going to
Yeah.
review that.
We'll confirm that or something.
but we do know
yeah.
that both of them get transported into Krinchenabon.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Yes.
somewhere up on a hill, Drizzt can see, or so Drizzt
he just had his fight with Ertu.
just had his fight with Ertu,
Right.
and I think he realizes what's going on, and so he keeps Guinevere in.
Oh, Guinevere's injured.
Guinevere is injured, but
Badly injured.
he can. The problem is he can send him back to his own realm to heal, but he needs him. He needs him to stay because
Now,
Guinevere
there's
can
no
see
time.
can see the outline of the door to get into Chris to.
So Ertu had slipped the little piece of information, which was that there is a door to enter Krinchenabon. However, it is not visible from this plane. So, because Guinevere is from like a different magical plane, for some reason only Guinevere can view it. So, it's poor Guinevere has like a cut, like a mangled arm or something, and Drizzt and Guinevere just take off to go find this, and on the way slay some people if they can, and no big deal. But basically, yeah, they've got to get into Krinchenabon.
ChilLiterates
You're right. Krinchenabon is the mini.
is the actual shard.
Identity of the
Right.
item.
They have to get in there, and as they're sort of plotting, like, how do we sneak in? All of a sudden, there's a diversion, and all the goblins are like, "Rah!" They all march towards an area, and I wrote, blah blah blah. They got into ChilLiterates with the help of a diversion, but because we don't know what the diversion is, I wrote maybe Wolfgar and the Barbarians? ? Which
The timing is a little hard to figure out here because we are seeing everybody's perspective, and there are about at least four different perspectives in each timeline. So we're like reliving the same moment through different eyes, and it's kind of hard to tell, like, is it the exact moment? Is it a little bit after? Have they converged? So that's a little confusing. I thought it was, remember Ekar Kessel had that seed of doubt that one of the orc tribes was double crossing him.
Right.
And so he sent out whatever creatures to go and close that escape route, which he thought existed, and, kill those orcs. So I thought it had something to do with those, but maybe not, because I don't know.
Well, but like by the time we find out that Wolfgar and the barbarians are there fighting, it's not like they get reintroduced, and then
true,
Wolfgar showed up. It's like they're already there.
Yeah, you're right, because the big thing that happens with ChilLiterates, yeah, you're right, they're all there to witness it, so it must have been the barbarians were there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they just showed up as Driz was trying to find a way in.
Yes, so that was happening at the same moments. Okay.
Which was pretty fast, because I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know where their mead hall is, but it took Driz how long to get from?
They didn't even come straight from the mead hall. They went up to the dwarves. Remember, the dwarves were fighting. We love Brunor. Brunor was kicking some butt. They had to decide whether or not to stay in the tunnels, the dwarves, and be safe, or to exit and continue the fight. So, of course, they exit the tunnels and continue the fight. And when they are getting overpowered is when Wolfgar comes to the rescue with the barbarians. So I know Wolfgar goes from Mead Hall, middle of the night. Well, this is all happening in the middle of the night. To wherever the dwarves are as backup, and then to ChilLiterates, all in the span of a few hours.
Yeah.
Before
As a matter
dawn,
of fact,
way before dawn. So.
Well, the dwarves. Okay, we keep.
Are we skipping?
Well, no, it's just that some of the information is crosses across chapters because of the timelines. We can't stop the story
right
at the end of the chapter.
It's a little convoluted.
It's really dense. Each chapter kind of bleeds into the other. But the dwarves, before Wolfgar showed up, the dwarves killed over 1,000 sleeping
goblins.
Sleeping goblins
they
and
came
orcs.
Through the ground. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, they were just
shoveled their way up, up the earth, left just enough so that, if anyone's walking, it wouldn't collapse. But they knew exactly where to dig to be right under the camp of goblins. And just when they were ready, just Pop the Weasel, they just popped up and killed 1,000-ish goblins in their sleep. Which is, great for them. The dwarves didn't have hardly any casualties. Great, wonderful.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. At least in that part, the sleeping goblins.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so then after that, so whose perspective are we missing now?
Well,
we did Wolfgar, we did Regis, because now we're converging to Drizzt in ChilLiterates. Getting up to that point, we have to see Wolfgar leaving Mead Hall to support Brunor to, I guess, run down. Regis has already had the meeting. Right now, he's with Akar Kessel in one of the top rooms of ChilLiterates, pretending to be under the spell. Catabri's somewhere over there with the dwarves still. She stayed behind. Right. Guinevere's with Drizzt. Those are all our main people.
They're
right
in
now.
the tower, and they're fighting off some trolls. And at some point, Drizzt kills the troll, but his beheaded body and severed limbs keep alive like a chicken.
Zombies. Yeah. So on top of everything else, there's zombies here. Zombie trolls.
I don't know if that's just the way trolls are,
like fully
like
rotted.
A chicken, or if it's because they're under the spell.
I think it's just they're animated under this spell. Because even the severed arm is grabbing Drizzt's boot. And it's rotted. It's foul. So Drizzt, being brilliant and strong as he is, figures...
Makes it all the way to the top of the tower.
Clear a path through the trolls. He finds the hidden latch, which is kind of
it's a tapestry with a poem on it.
Yes.
Which I wrote down.
And he deciphers the poem. Oh.
Come if you will to the orgy within, but first you must find the latch, seen and not seen, been but not been, and a handle that flesh cannot catch. I can't make out what I wrote there, but that's most
Well,
most
now,
of the poem.
yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it so quickly, but well, yeah. So he has to decipher this poem. It's a riddle, and it's like Slumdog Millionaire. That was what was going through my head, where he was the only person in the whole universe in this plane that could solve that riddle because of his very specific memory, like experience. Just like Slumdog Millionaire, he knew all the answers because of a very specific experience, you know?
Well, it was like a...
And so Dritz is the only one in this entire plane because he's the only dark elf on the surface, and you would have to be a dark elf to understand the riddle. So he figures it out. He opens the secret door.
It was like a perspective thing. He had to walk back and like line up his vision so that...
Which is like more mirrors are in play. Yeah, he had to use his reflection lined up with like the painting on the tapestry and pull in the reflection the lever.
The latch that he could see from a distance.
Yeah.
And it would like...
So in the air, he's pulling nothing.
But in the mirror,
it looks like
he's grabbing...
pulling the tapestry's lever, which it opens the secret door. To find
them.
Akar
Kessel and Regis.
All like zombie mode. And poor Dritz is like, how do I save my friend now? He's under the spell of Akar Kessel. What do I do? And then, Regis is like, Dritz, what the heck are you doing here? So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Past here, there's a bit... I get confused because all these mirrors and stuff just kind of...
Mirrors are a big thing.
Yeah, it's hard to understand because obviously you can't see what's going on. So when it tells you, oh, he's behind this mirror and then he slipped behind there, I'm like, behind where?
Fun house. I just picture a fun house.
Just fun house.
Crystal Tirith is already a crystal that is clear yet reflective. And so now imagine a mirror like reflecting a window and the view in the window, and imagine several mirrors, and it's just a fun house of Crystal Tirith. So that in my mind, I just had Akar Kessel, Regis, Dritz pops out, and there you go. I forgot exactly now how that starts. Dritz tries to like pull the same trick that he used on Air 2 on Akar Kessel by pretending like, oh, I was sent here to speak on behalf of my people, of the Dark Elves, and such, and Akar Kessel like knocked it before he even got started. He's just like, nope, I know who you are.
Hold your tongue.
Yeah.
Not falling for your sorcery.
And then basically, what happens now? Because I'm a little fuzzy.
Well, it's a little fuzzy too because...
It happens very quickly.
Everything just kind of happens, but...
There's a candle being reflected in the mirrors.
Yeah, there's a candle, and then Akar Kessel manages to get away.
Wait. It was kind of cool, though. So Akar Kessel's holding the candle with the flame, and he's like using the reflection of the candle, right? So imagine there's like mirrors all around, held at angles, and he creates this like design. Imagine if Dritz is here, he uses like this design from the reflection of the candle to cage Dritz in a flame, like a flame design.
Okay.
So he cannot pass that. Do you remember that part?
It's coming back.
So there was like, I pictured like a laser field, like, in movies when someone's trying to...
laser beam.
Yes, just like that, like Dr. Evil, or like, in movies, what's the Ocean's 12 or whatever, when they're trying to like steal the paintings.
Yeah,
and
like
there's
a
just
field of...
Yes, and so that's how it was kind of, in my mind, made to sound. It's a single candle, but powered by the reflections and Crystal Tirith and whatever magic, la la Dritz can't move. He's totally trapped by like a candle, flame, laser beam, whatever. And so as Akar Kessel's holding the castle, he's ready to make the killing strike, which would be like changing the angle of the candle. He was gonna like do something with the flame. Freaking Regis is like over here off to like Akar Kessel's shoulder, and he just goes,
yeah.
Just like blew out the candle real quick, like blowing out your birthday candles.
Yeah.
And so forget about it.
Just be like, happy birthday to me.
And
then some other kid is like,
yeah.
You son of...
Exactly what I pictured was just like this other kid like over his shoulder, just like, okay. And so Dritz is immediately making his move to attack, but Akar Kessel, there's like this ladder, and Akar Kessel is on the move. He's gone.
And he summons two like dogs, hellhound
like
type
hellhounds.
things.
I forgot about that. That was a kind of wild and unexpected. There's these two funny looking hellhounds that breathe fire, and Guinevere takes out one of them because Guinevere is in the shadows, just hanging out, all injured.
Both of them.
Was it both?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. And all I just remember was like the eye, like Dritz stabs one of them in the eye.
Maybe I don't really remember, but basically this is the point where it kind of splits off again.
Yeah.
Because Guinevere stays behind with Regis fighting the hellhounds, and then Drizzt goes after Akar Kessel. But the thing is, at this point, ChilLiterates starts to crumble as this is happening, right?
Okay, well, hold on. Just the most important part. Why is ChilLiterates crumbling? Do you remember? So they were having that face-off. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I was focused on Dritz losing his life, right, with the laser beams. And I totally forgot that there was it was Quincinabon, or like a copy of Quincinabon, a floating crystal in this space. Within these laser beams that Dritz can't cross. He can't even have space to move. And what does he do? He's kind of like, he's talking to Akar Kessel here. And as like Akar Kessel goes to make the killing blow, Regis blows out the flame. And freaking Dritz pulls out a pouch, right? And he opens this pouch. And Akar Kessel's kind of like watching like what he's doing. And he just like dumps this powder. It's white powder, not what you're thinking. It's flour, and he covers Quincinabon so that as dawn was breaking, as the laser beams had just been cut, and he can move, and Quincinabon is vulnerable because it's not protected by the laser beams. He actually covers it, blocks the light with the flour that he was just carrying around, grabs it with a sack, and ChilLiterates just crumbles. That's it. It was all being held together by Quincinabon, and Quincinabon has no access to sunlight. It practically, I wouldn't say has a new master, but it is no longer with Akar Kessel, so it doesn't have.
Yeah, well, it is with Akar Kessel. It
is with Akar Kessel.
Yeah, because he we'll get to it in a bit, but he's. Oh. Maybe I misunderstood, but because
maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, so it's just it doesn't have access to the sun. It's covered.
Is it in the pouch?
I think it's I don't think it's in the pouch. I think the pouch had the flour in it.
Okay, so then it was just.
It covered it from the sun, but then because, we'll get to it in a second. But Akar Kessel tried to do another tower later on, and that he lost it at He didn't actually lose it. We'll get to it. But
say it because since it's
he definitely had Quincinabon at the end at the top of the mountain.
Oh, shoot.
Look, we'll get to it. But
there was part of it that I listened in an audiobook, and I don't know if I just totally missed that.
Well, I listened to all of it. Because I was reading it,
and then I was running around doing chores.
Okay, well.
Oh my god.
Okay, so this is what happened, right?
So Akar Kessel still has Quincinabon?
At this point. He still has Quincinabon at this point, but not for long. Again, it seems like it's longer because of all the different perspectives, but this is what happens, right?
Shoot.
As I understand it, Akar Kessel, he still has Crinshinaban,
Yes.
and as the tower is crumbling,
Yes.
he teleports him and Drizzt to Kelvin's cairn.
Right.
Now, meanwhile, Guinevere defeats the dogs and then starts circling around Regis, and Regis is like crapping himself, like, oh no, what's going to happen? And I wrote, did Guinevere eat Regis? Because it's just like...
Guinevere's hungry, very injured, a lot of fighting.
Right.
Guinevere's starving.
So that happens.
Yeah.
Crystal Tirith collapses.
Yes.
And the goblins start running away. They're like, oh no, what do we do now?
Yeah, we're defeated. Right? Okay.
So then Drizzt sort of wakes up on Kelvin's cairn.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kessel is there like, I'm going to raise another one because the tower crumbled.
Okay.
So I'm going to do it again. By this time, this is the fourth tower?
And then this is when like Drizzt is talking to him, killing time. Right?
Yes.
I didn't catch the part that he was building another tower, but I remember them on the snow, on the, top of the whatever, and Drizzt is like, he's trying to spare the precious seconds. He's trying to keep Akar Kessel distracted a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, again, it keeps... Underneath, there's like still the battle going on, and because the goblins are they saw the tower that was closer to their crumble, they got scared. Mm-hmm. When the other tower got risen, they were like happy again.
They started fighting.
Fighting again.
Oh, because there was a second tower.
By this time this is the fourth.
In the area.
Yeah.
In the area. Okay.
And so he raises another one. He's like, see, nobody can defeat me. But then Crinshinaban is just like, no, I've had enough of you. And so the fourth tower just crumbles for no reason because Crinshinaban is like, no, screw you. We're done.
Yeah, okay.
Now, of course...
Let me tell you what I remember, and then you tell me where this happens. Because I don't specifically remember what you just said. What I remember is that they're on the snow, they're on the mountain, they're having a little, riff off, and Akar Kessel is Drizzt is distracting Akar Kessel, killing time because the snow is melting as the sun is getting stronger.
Yeah, the snow is melting underneath their feet.
Yes, and he wants Akar Kessel to go down with the melt. So when does that happen?
At the same time, he's risen the tower.
Ah, okay.
And at the same time, Akar Kessel's like, see, nobody can, can defeat me. Meanwhile, okay. Drizzt is like, oh, okay, you better check your footing, pal.
Or he's just like, la la la, look over here.
Yeah.
Look over
here.
At
some point, he even throws like a little dagger in his direction.
Right. To infuriate him so that instead of focusing on whatever he was doing, which apparently was building the tower, I remember that. He throws a dagger to infuriate Akar Kessel so that he will scream at him, yell at him, be distracted, be offended. How dare you, little puny dark elf, think you can take me. I'm very sad that I missed that part.
Well,
I'm glad we're talking now because that makes a whole big of a difference. So I'm glad I talked to you.
Yeah. Well, it even basically confirms it a little bit later when this avalanche starts happening.
Yeah.
And Kessel he thought that if he could at least hold on to Crinshinaban, it would save him from the avalanche. But then he says it did little to calm his mind when he saw the avalanche
I thought that was I do remember that part. I thought he was speaking hypothetically. I wish I was holding on to Crinshinaban right now.
Well, no. What I understood was he was holding on to his at least if I can hold on to this, I'll survive the tumble down. And he's laying there oh, at least I survived. And then he sees the avalanche oh crap. And
Okay. Got it. Yes.
And so Akar Kessel's dead.
Oh yeah.
Finally, Jesus Christ, screw this guy.
Just the person I thought was going to be the absolute meaningless character, just one of those fluff characters. ended up being the main villain. So, yeah, good riddance to him. Good riddance.
But
what?
He died with Crinchiniban in his hands.
Well, also I was thinking just because now Crinchiniban is buried in snow.
Just like it was at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, I feel like snow just melts and then he's going to be visible. He's not going to be so far down.
So
know?
that hasn't really been resolved.
No. So anyway, so Akar Kessel's dead. Yay, little celebration there. What else? So Dritz goes to, how about this? The next thing we should talk about is Dritz goes to where ChilLiterates stood. Now it just crumbles, and he's digging in the rubble looking for Regis, looking for his friend. Doesn't find him. All he finds is his necklace, the pendant, and he's absolutely heartbroken. Regis now was killed by the tumbling tower. Whatever. He's very sad. And then he's like, hold on a second.
He also sees
body?
The little statue of
he found Guinevere, yeah. And he goes, hold on, where's the body? Because here's the necklace that was around his neck. It's not like he was holding it. Yeah. It's not like it was off.
There's no blood on it, nothing.
Yeah, what happened? So as he calls Guinevere, Regis
Then he called Guinevere to find Regis.
Yeah.
And then Regis sitting there like, oh.
Hey.
He's like, hey, I was eating that.
Yeah. Having the best time of his life in Guinevere's plane. Fully interrupted with his meal, not worried about the battle. His part's done. He's having the time of his life now.
It reminds me of there's a scene in The Lord of the Rings. I can't even remember if this is like the extended edition or whatever, but Merry and Pippin are sitting there like smoking and eating pork or something, and Gimli is like, what are you doing up there? Like, oh, we're enjoying some
I think that's
particular...
the extended. Yeah.
Like, we're enjoying, some well-deserved, luxuries. Like, you should try the pork.
Regis, also a halfling. He really does sound like a hobbit. And the appetite, he's insatiable. Yeah.
Rumble belly.
He eats as much as all of Wulfgar, Bruenor, and Dritz combined. Just Regis, the halfling. So anyway, Dritz finds Regis. Guinevere now has had enough time to heal in his plane. The barbarians have made their way. Obviously, they made it to ChilLiterates. They made it to Bryn Shander in 10 towns. And actually, one thing we forgot to mention was that while this was happening with Dritz in ChilLiterates, and the barbarians had come down to cause a distraction to fight the goblins, gave Dritz the opportunity to enter. They had a conversation with the people of 10 towns. The barbarians had a conversation with the people of 10 towns, and they actually worked together. Wulfgar handled it so well. He came to the people and he said, we're not who we used to be 5 years ago when we attacked your area. We want to work with you. We want to defeat Akar Kessel. Let's work together. And they do. And they even share 10 towns. Like the barbarians are now they have a town or two of their own. Yeah. In the area.
They're, sort of, as they're all getting together, all they're doing is just clearing out the last of the goblins because Akar Kessel's already dead. Right. And so, the dwarves kind of show up again and they're helping around and Wulfgar sees Bruenor and he's like, okay, I'm off to go fight. And he said he couldn't see Bruenor because he was too short, but he could see evidence of him every time. Like,
you're talking about when Bruenor went off to fight.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, Bruenor went off to fight, and he said he couldn't see him, but he could see the
trail.
He could see the trail, he could see
basically the bodies falling. So he couldn't
said trolls
see
clutching
Bruenor.
their groins. Yeah.
So he couldn't actually see Bruenor at all, and you just see the evidence of Bruenor. Yeah.
And of course,
that was a nice little tidbit. Yeah, because I love Bruenor.
That chapter, by the way, that we're discussing, called The Battle of Icewind Dale, which took me 2 pages in here, it ends with, the Battle of Icewind Dale had not followed the course that Akar Kessel had promised.
That's right. Suck it, Edgar Kessel.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
me seeing this, saying, "Oh, he couldn't see Bruno like as he went off away."
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like the sound of that. I don't like where this is going.
Really? I was like, Bruno's, he's always going to be okay.
Well, because...
I was never worried about Bruno.
Well,
but he goes off on his own. He's not with the buddies. He's not with his people. He's absolutely on his own. The other dwarves are still battling around the area. Bruno takes off.
There was just something weird and ominous about the way that was described, and I was like,
I didn't catch that.
I don't know, like
it makes sense.
It's
that
just like
say that now.
Well, what he said sounded like famous last words. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's like, why would you say that? It's like, oh, good on you, boy. I'm glad I taught you, type of thing. I'm headed off now.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I didn't catch that at the moment. But now that you say it, it absolutely makes sense for what happened because Bruno is basically on his deathbed.
That was the, last time I saw Bruno that way.
So Bruno takes off into battle, and after everything's done, Wolfgar is continuing the conversations for how to share the land of 10 towns so that barbarians can coexist with other people. And a dwarf comes up to him and says, you need to go see Bruno now.
Bruno hasn't returned. I mean, by this point, technically the battle hasn't even really ended because, I forgot to mention, Glenn Sather got impaled through the stomach. And
you have to lose someone, right? Not everyone can be on the good side can be unscathed. Yeah. So unfortunately,
there's the final wave that they want to take the charge of, and so they start singing the Song of Tempest.
That was before.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like we're getting ahead. Like we didn't mention all this stuff. Like Glenn Sather got, and whatever. Let's just go.
That was when the barbarians left Mead Hall to go back up the dwarves. And they were singing their song. And Bruno was like, usually this song would terrify me because it means death incoming. But because he knows Wolfgar is leading the barbarians, it means allies. So it was kind of really nice to see the song mean something special to Bruno now because it's Wolfgar leading the chant. So, okay.
Okay, yeah. So
explain.
So, okay. So I guess you thought he was safe, but I'm like, well, he's not safe because, I guess he's not safe because maybe the reason he's, that, plus, plus, there's 3 prequel books that we know he's going to be in because by the beginning of this book, Driz already has known him for a while. Right. So presumably that's not like the last that we've seen of him, but that doesn't mean anything about the future.
Oh, you're doing book math.
I'm doing book math, and I'm like, well, I guess I must have added the book math wrong. So I guess Bruno is only popular because of the prequels and because, we don't know we don't know how it's going to turn out, but he's sitting there like,
man. Oh. So, somebody comes up, one of the dwarves. I don't think it's
Canterbury. Canterbury comes up
or the dwarf says you need to go see Canterbury and Bruno.
Well, it's something. It's just like Canterbury is like you need to go.
Yeah. So
he asked for the drow.
Yeah. So that I was like, even then I was like, oh, that's nice. I was like, oh, the battle's over. The first thing he wants to do is see his friend, right? That's what I thought. No, Bruno's on his deathbed. Okay, so it opens up to. It's from Drit's point of view this time. So we hear that Wolfgar's being told to find Bruno. Okay, then we don't know what happens between them. Then when Dritz is done with everything we just talked about, he goes and finds Bruno, and who is sitting with him already? It's Wolfgar and Canterbury.
Oh, with their heads
they are absolutely defeated because their heads are down, just like the body posture is it's bent, it's broken.
Bruner's got just all kinds of bandages and stuff, and he's laying down all week.
Yeah, and so Dritz is just trying to in the last moments of his friend, trying to console him, trying to make him feel better. He's like, your home, Mithril Hall, that Bruno had lost. He doesn't know exactly where it is. He hasn't been able to find it since he's left it. So one of his biggest life goals was to find his home. And Dritz was consoling him, saying, don't you worry, like, now, you'll be going home.
At the very beginning of the book is like, I'll find it someday. And Drizzt is like, you seek sights that only your memory can see.
Right.
Like, these are pipe dreams. It's not going to happen.
Right. It's impossible. And so Dritz is like, you'll go home now. I think he's like speaking like, in death.
You'll go
and
back
so
home.
Bruno's like, well,
you
not
come
now.
with me?
Not now.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. It's winter. Not yet. I don't go home yet. I'll wait until spring. And he's making it sound like he's going to fight to live until spring so that he can go home. Not in death see his home. He wants to live until spring to go to Mithril Hall. And Dritz is saying, yes, my friend, absolutely. I promise. Like, I will be there with you. You will make it home. You will make it until the spring. You will be okay. You'll make it through this. Tis but a scratch.
Yeah.
And then Bruno basically goes, ha ha!
When I
we
saw
scared the
that,
crap out of Akuz.
Yeah. When I saw that, I went like, "Are you effing kidding me?"
I was like, my jaw dropped, biggest smile because my heart was breaking. Bruno is my favorite. So, oh my gosh, I fell for it, just like Dritz. Yeah. So Bruno goes, ha! He takes off the freaking blanket, whatever he's covered in. And he goes, you promised.
Yeah.
You promised.
See, here's the thing about Bruno.
I got your word on that. So we're going in spring.
He keeps talking about how Wolfgar is just a boy that needs to grow up and is too cocky, but Bruno is just as bad as him.
He pranks.
There's
pranks
not just the prank, but I remember
the jokes and
the jokes and the little comments and just he's just. I think he just sees himself in Wolfgar.
Him. Yeah, that's why we like him. That's the appeal of the character, 100%. So Bruno basically now has a promise from Dritz, and he's going to hold him to it. So what are you going to do? Dritz has, given his word to his friend. So then we just kind of go off to a little time forward, not very long. Regis is living the high life because he's recognized as the hero. He took credit for everything basically. Yeah, he took the credit for everything that Dritz did, right? But Dritz didn't want the glory or the rewards anyway. But Regis lives for that. So Regis is, after the battle, living the high life. He's got the best home in town. Cassius's house. Cassius, the leader, gave his home to Regis in acknowledgement of what he did, which was to crumble Crystal Tirith. It wasn't Regis. It was Dritz. Anyway, so, he's living the high life. Bruno, Wolfgar, Dritz approach him and they're like, hey, the weather's getting a little bit better. Like, we're planning to go. So, some time has passed. So we're planning to go find Mithril Hall. We're off to an adventure. What does Regis say? Nah, I'm good here. I've got all the comforts of life. Like, you guys have fun. Have a good time. And then
he just sort of...
Do you remember who comes to visit him? Someone comes to visit. Someone from Regis's past comes to visit him. You don't remember this? It was, again, only a couple lines. So Regis is saying, like, no, I'm fine. I have all the comforts of life here. Like, you guys go on, live your life. And if you're ever back in the area, like, And Dritz is like, yes, you will be the first place we come to visit. So the three of them, Wolfgar, Bruno, and Dritz, start their adventure. They've got their sacks on a stick, like the little cartoons where they're travelers. They're starting their adventure. And then someone comes a knocking on Regis's door from his past. It's the main
assassin from
that old...
Pasha Pook.
Yes, which was the leader of the Den of Thieves or like Clan of Thieves,
Right.
whatever it used to be. Thieves
assassin
Guild.
called Artemis and Trary.
Very cool name.
And I'm not sure if that's meant to be a female name or
I don't
not,
know
because
if I
Artemis
think about
is
A
it's
girl's
technically
name.
a girl's name, but
In
it
fantasy.
it doesn't need to be like all the names are all weird and stuff, so it doesn't mean anything. Like we thought Guinevere was a female, and he's not.
Canterbury. What's Canterbury?
Well, it sounds like a cheese.
Yeah. Special cheese. So anyway, so you know the other three are off on their adventure. They've got their little sacks. They're all packed up. They're leaving, and the assassin, the top assassin, who works for the leader of the Thieves Guild, which, if you remember, Regis used to be a part of. And who did he steal that pendant necklace from? Pasha Puk, or whatever. I believe that was the leader's name. If that's not the name of the clan.
Pasha Puk. Is that the name of the clan, or was it
the name of the leader? I don't remember. We'll pretend. It's the name of the leader. So yeah. So who did Regis steal from? The leader of the thieves. So you know, and here comes a knocking. The assassin. So guess what? Regis is like, "Hey guys, wait for me."
Yeah.
And yeah, it's basically like. In a movie, it just ends with like Regis running after the three of them, saying like, "You know what?
Maybe I'll just join you guys.
I'm lacking adventure. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
join you guys for the funs of it. Even though I have no clothes, I have no food, I have no pack. I've packed nothing. It's just what he's wearing." And then the three other guys are just all kind of looking at each other like, "Are we buying his story? Like, oh yeah, he just wants to come along."
Yeah, sure. We'll let you
Something's
come
up.
along.
Yeah, okay. But you're more than welcome. So then it's just like the four of them walking off into the sunset.
Yeah, and one like before they managed to squeeze in a nice little joke before it ended. It's like, Wolfgar, this would be a perfect time for your like battle cry. Remember that thing you said? Remember that thing you said down in the when we were fighting the? It was like, oh, I didn't say anything.
And Wolfgar's like,
well, you mean?
He heard someone else say it. Someone else said it.
No,
and...
Wolfgar said it when they were in the cave.
And Regis understood it because he was kind of like,
yeah.
And then Driss was like, I thought that was a.
That was a war cry. It was like,
yeah,
oh no, it actually means, may the fleas of 1,000 reindeer nest in your genitals. To wish crabs upon someone. That's a hell of an insult. May you get crabs.
Yeah.
Well, worse than crabs, but whatever.
1,000 fleas. So we had talked about that. I don't remember which episode it was.
1,000 reindeer. May the fleas of 1,000 reindeer.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right.
Way more than 1,000 fleas.
I forgot now what chapter that was in, but we had talked about wanting to know what the heck that means and if it's going to come up later in the book, and now we have our answer.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting. But just 4 guys on an adventure, insulting each other in the friendliest of ways. You know, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, Regis not the first citizen anymore. This Artemis. Oh, I just lost a page. So this.
What is it?
The Icy Tomb. Whatever.
Probably from someone from another chapter.
Yeah, the Icy Tomb, chapter 21.
Oh, I didn't actually hear what you said.
Yeah.
I heard you say something,
but. So this Artemis person. What happens when this, like, does this person go for Krinshinabon or what? Like, cause I'm just worried about who's gonna pick up Krinshinabon now that it's buried in the snow again, because if Akar Kessel was able to do what he was able to do with that, then imagine somebody competent
actually getting a hold of it.
Yeah,
that's kind of interesting because now we have a new player in the game, right? This assassin just got introduced.
With a little green dagger, it said, in a hood.
Yeah. Oh, I'm curious. I didn't even think of that. I just thought, Regis's past is coming to haunt him. This will be fun.
He's gonna outdrow the drow, because he's got the little hood and the sneaky, dark sort of
So,
lurking in the corners.
if we're reading these in publication order, what's the next book? Do you know the name off the top of your head?
Yes, Streams of Silver.
Oh, excuse me, that was a hiccup. That's right, you did say that in the last episode. Streams of Silver.
Yeah. And matter of fact, during the epilogue of the audiobook, the epilogue is like 40 minutes long, and I'm like, that can't be it. I only got like 2 pages left. And then as soon as it's like the end, it's like, and now here's a sneak preview into Streams of Silver. And I was like, no. And because my phone is really slow to bring up the pause button, and I had to like swipe the thing up and put the password, and I'm like, la, swipe, no. But yes.
No, my epilogue is like, what is this, 8 pages? So no, I was listening to the audiobook, whatever that YouTube. There was a YouTube channel with it. It was very weird. But no, the audiobook ended with this 8-page epilogue, not the 40-minute epilogue.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I wonder what was in that one. But anyway, I think we already have a plan. So next time we'll be posting, it'll be Streams of Silver.
Right.
All right.
Drizzt and Wulfgar looked at each other with knowing smiles. It was indeed going to be an interesting adventure. And with the rising sun at their back, their shadows standing long before them, they started off on their way to find Mithril Hall.
Yay. That's a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Beautiful ending. Just walking off into the sunset,
Like a Western.
Yeah.
So, thank you for joining us.
Yay. The good book. I don't even have the words to describe, what an adventure it was for me, going along with Brunor, Drizzt, and Wulfgar.
We try to find the words to
Not
describe how good it
Regis.
is over the course of these few podcasts.
Well, we have a lot of words. We do have a lot of words, but we're not trained critics.
Yeah.
So the words are jumbled most of the time. It's a lot of word salads. But I'm very excited. I absolutely want to get... I don't have a copy of the second book yet, so I'm going to find a way to get my
We'll
hands
find
on a
ourselves
copy
a
ASAP.
copy of the next book.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, hopefully, hopefully not too...
It won't be long.
Won't be long.
This one took us a while.
Yeah.
But
Also had to figure it out, all this stuff. It took us a while. Hopefully,
well,
by
you
now
have the
we've
green
perfected
screen,
it.
so we, all these mountains and snow and stuff. Oh yeah, I can use. So okay.
All right. Well, call me Mike. Call her Olive. Join us next time on Streams of Silver.
Yay!
Bye.
Oh.